Okay, so in this video we're gonna see how to create a database and a database server in Azure SQL service. Okay, and we are using SQL Database server in local machine, and for development purposes is the best thing to do. But when we have to access the database from our applications or our clients, it must be in the cloud. And nowadays, so for testing purposes also and for production purposes, the database is good to be in the cloud. It's like a different layer of the application. Okay, let's start with it. To start with, you should go to your portal with Azure and you sign in with your credentials. Good. Yes. You select if you sometimes any other times you are asked I work or Sql IT or personal account. I don't know why, but it's you should choose personal account. Okay. Well, at least in this account I have is what works for me. Work or Sql account is not detected. So I have activated my two-step signing or two-step authentication, and just with my mobile phone I'm gonna say everything is all right, so I can start my session. And when you first go to Azure, okay, you're in home, and you should be see everything of this clear, like a blank without anything. I have some services already running using no SQL. All right, so what I'm doing is going to create this SQL service. Well, you should have only the subscription, Azure for Student subscription. So to create a new resource, we go here. We can go to create a resource, add a resource, and you go to databases. All right, and here to SQL database. And it's gonna be asking us some questions. Okay, the subscription, it's by default the only one you should have, Azure for Students, and then it asks for us to select a resource group. You by default won't have anyone, so you should create a new one. This is just the first time you create a resource, whatever in Azure that is asked. Okay, so for now. For this module, you just have to do it once, the first time you create the first resource, the first database or web app or virtual machine or whatever. Okay, you can group them under the same resource, but this again you have to do it only once, only one time. The next time you could select it from the drop down here. So I'm going to just give it a name, resource group, for instance. And okay, and it will be created for you automatically. Then it's asking me to enter a database name and, of course, a server. By default, you won't have any server, so we have to create first, okay, a server, a database server. As the server is going to be online, okay, it's going to have a URL, okay, so it's going to be, you have to set a name, and it's going to have this URL, this DNS. So for instance, I'm going to 2021 SQL server, okay. It says the name is available. The address to access the service will be this one with this appended to it with the database.windows.net. Okay, and then it's asking for login credentials. So I'm going to create a new admin user. Okay, this must be whatever you want. Okay, I'm just using SPDBI and a password for this admin user. Okay, this user is an independent user for this server. Okay, it's gonna be the administrator of this server, so it hasn't got to be your Azure username nor whatever username. It's just a new one. Okay, and with a different password, a name and a username and a password for the server, only for the server. This is gonna be just for this SQL server in Azure, not for any other thing. So you have to select the Europe Western is going to be located in West Europe to make it quickest access. Although it's not quick at all, our subscription is not the best one. But all right, so this data to create the SQL server, and you have to remember it. All right, I encourage you to just make a screenshot, or well, you can look at it, but at least the server name or the server URL, and we can look it up and the server login, but the password, okay, just remember it and or write it down anywhere, because otherwise it's gonna be like difficult to recover. So we create OK, and a new server will be created, and now we are gonna create a sample database or a test DB in our SQL server by default. You know. And important, okay, this is the thing where by which the configuration of our database or our database server, what we have to pay for. Okay, so by default it's a general purpose, it's an expensive one, so we have to click. You see now they want to charge us €340 per month. Okay, but of course this is we don't need a database just for our applications. We just need the basic. Okay, so we just click here and go for standard. Don't even need a standard. We go here, and with a basic server, we are fine. And you see the cost is gonna be affordable for us. That we remember we only have $100 or well, 100 and or less than €100 so we have to take care of this. So it's going to create a 2 gigabytes database, but it's going to be enough. All right, once you select, you are sure you're selecting basic, so you apply. Okay, and here you check again that this is the basic 2 gigabyte storage that we have selected, because otherwise it would be expensive and your credit will be over in nothing. Okay, once we have checked everything, we see review. We don't need to go through all of the rest of the steps. We can say review and create. Okay, we review as for students. The resource group is going to be created. West Europe, test DB. Okay, the name of the SQL server, the basic. All right, and the pricing, €4. This is the only service we're going to be using. That is going to cost some money. So well, and this we decide to use any other one. So I just gonna say create, and now it's going to deploy all the services we have created. Remember, the resource group, the database server, and the database inside this database server. It's going to take maybe a couple of minutes. So when it's finished, okay, it's going to give us the message of the details here of the services they are being created. Okay, the database inside the database server. Okay, which is created, and it's going to send us a message that the deployment has been succeeded. Okay. Good. Now, if we go again to start to our home, okay, you should see in here, okay, I'm going to, okay, this is the database, your services. You will have only the 3 that we have created, plus the Azure. So you should have the resource group, all right, the database, and the database server that I don't see here. Okay, I'm going to select the resource group. I have created them, so I have the resource group, which is here, and inside this resource group for this year I have created there are the SQL server and the test DB. All right, to access the SQL server, so I can just go to home, and if I don't see here, okay, in recent resources, okay, I navigate to all resources, and here I have my test DB, and I want my SQL server, right? It's PDBI 2021 SQL server. right? This is all my resources here, and here is the information and the control panel for the SQL server in Azure. So it's gonna be like here I can have some information, and I can, well, from here I can create databases, see the databases I have, delete them, etc., or show the information. For instance, if I want to check the databases which are in the server, so I just click here, and I see the database information, and right, a lot of stuff about it, utilization, storage, everything like this that we are not gonna need to say. Good. There's in the database, in the testDB we have created, we have from in this online tool we have this query editor to make to manage this database. Okay, it is it will be asking for logging. All right, and every time we connect to the server, it's going to be asking for a login and a password. Login, we are going to be using the administrator's login, but we should create another user, a different user, if we access from our database. I'm going to use this one. Okay, I will say okay, and okay, this is the first server you will get in all connections from every client. Okay, by default it says cannot open server that requested by the login client with IP address. So this is my machine's address now. Okay, this local machine where I am trying to connect to the Azure SQL server is not allowed access the server. Okay, so this say manage portal run set firewall rule. So it is because the SQL server has got a firewall rule. It's what that denies all connections, all right, from every place that are not from inside Azure. So we are trying to connect from this window, which is a client, okay, like the applications we're gonna build. So and this client, this Firefox window, is in my machine. In my machine is with IP 79, 109, 244, 82. So it's not allowing me to access from here. To allow me to access from here, I have to use I have to go to the to the server. Let's go home and to the server, and here go to the firewall settings. Yep. And in firewall settings I have to add another rule. If you see here client IP address, all right, I can add rule name. There was at client IP. All right, if I click add client IP, all right, you see it's created a new rule with my IP, all right, of this local computer from it's my house's router IP, and I just save it, and now I will be allowed to access from my local computer, from my house, from this computer, either from the web interface or from whatever interface. For example, an application I am trying to access the database, or a SQL Server Management Studio or Visual Studio, for instance. So let's go back again to the database. Let's see if it's here. Okay, and try now to access with the client with the query editor, and now it should work because now it works because we have added the firewall rule to just pass away the firewall. You see here it is a very basic editor. It is like store procedures tables and make queries. It's not nothing special, so no special functionality. We are not using this as normal to access our database online or online, but just as you say, okay, I am here in a query window. I could create a new query, but I can here like create table, for instance, example or person, and okay, I will create an ID field, which is what can be an int and not null, and can be a primary key, and I can create a person name field, which can be a varchar and varchar, sorry, varchar 29 characters. Okay, not. Yep, this is just for creating a table. I just run the query, and then if I refresh, okay, it will say, okay, now there's a person table in here with this field, with these fields. I could query and select the top 8,000 rows. Okay, if I do here, if I insert, can now also insert into dbo.person like one Mike. Okay, sorry, values. Make a little a brief review of SQL, at least the insert, the delete, the basic selects, and updates, just to work with that. All right. If I, well, it's usually it's written here the name of the fields. Sorry, Mike. No, not Mike. Person name, as you see, and I run it and I say, okay, affected rows number 1. So now if I refresh the tables and I say select top 1,000 rows, okay, it says okay, select top 1,000 from so it's like ID and it's just only one. Not mystery, very basic. Just an example to see how can you access your database data, or just at least check if their tables are there, and if it's the same as the one you have in your local machine, in the client you are using for managing your databases. The important thing here is that you have okay, you have created the SQL server. This database is never mind, because we will delete it, and you have set it up with the correct parameters. The most important is the price and the configuration, the tier, and now that you know, okay, how to see the server name, okay, because we are going to need to connect from our clients or from our applications to this database and use the data it's in here. We will need the server name, all right, and our user and the password. So that's what we're going to be doing in and remember the other important thing, you have to set to work with the server's firewall, okay, firewalls, okay, to start adding addresses from which you are going to access this database. All right. Okay, so from SQL Server Management Studio, we can access both the local databases, as we have done before, and we can access also the remote databases we have in Azure and work with them. And we can also work with a local database and upload it to as a remote database, as a online database in Azure. So we're gonna do now. What we're gonna do now is these both things. We're gonna connect now to the remote server, to the SQL server in Azure, and do some changes in the database, in the test database that we have created before, and later what we will do is to from a local database that we have here, we will upload it. We will publish it in Azure directly from SQL Server Management Studio. So let's start first by establishing a connection with the okay, with the database server. For that, we need to start a new connection, okay, and it's usually like you only have this server name, but okay, if you go to your server in Azure, you have here your server name, which is the URL or the DNS name, okay, that you have to use in here to connect to the database, okay. So this is online and it's open in a port in a server, so we can use this server name as the DNS name, okay, that will be translated in an IP address to connect to it and to establish a connection from this client, because this is a client also. We can't use here Windows authentication because this Windows machine has nothing to do with the Azure server SQL server, and it's not the credentials and the users from this machine doesn't exist in there, so we have to use SQL Server authentication, and here we have to use the admin name or the username and the password we have set up in the creation of the server. So I will say remember, and I'm going to say try to connect. And you see here I'm establishing a connection, and the icon is different, saying that this is a remote connection, a connection to an object, to a server which is in Azure. And as you see, we have the test DB we created in the Azure in the Azure website with the table we have created before, and is the person table that must contain the data we have created before. Okay, we can select the top dozen rows. It's just one person name, and from here we can also edit the rows, or like insert new rows. Okay, to Joanne. Okay, insert new rows. That will be directly being inserted in the remote server, and well, we can do here manage our database. From here we can add a new table, for instance, add a new table. Okay, when I use it, like the column name, so an ID, data type int, allow rules no, and this will be a primary key, and it's gonna be like a game name and bar char 29, well, I don't know, 50 for the name of the name, allow rules no. Okay, and when okay, we have defined the tables, and if we click on save, okay, we can say games, and just when it's saved, yep, it will, if we refresh our connection, you see the create table statement has been done immediately. We can now, as before, edit top 200 rows, like insert any name like we have done like in here. Okay, if you see, it's a bit slower than working in local machine, of course, because it's in a server that is in, I don't know wherever in West Europe, so it's taking a bit more time. So well, we could just say increment poker and all that. To was, I think, chess. Anyway, okay, changes are committed immediately, so it's like working like as any other client, like Workbench or as in Visual Studio we have been doing before. So just to check, let's go to the database query editor again, and let's check that the changes have been committed or transmitted. So we have here the games that we have created in our local machine, and it's been outdated. So, and we can see the data. It's poker and chess. So it's working. The connection from here is working. Remember, with the connection credentials, the server name, and all this. Okay. Okay. And another thing we can do is, the other thing I wanted to do is, as I said, from a connection here in our local database, okay, that remember we were working in our local server, SQL Server Express. Okay, we're going to publish or to export a database that we have in here to Azure, to this one. So let's first connect to the local database server. You see it's here, and you see here I can manage many connections to many servers as I have. Okay, I here have an SQL server in Azure, and here I have my local database server, which we know we have. So this person games, that is more or less the same as the test database that we have created, but it has one table more, games person and person game. Okay, again I say this is in this local machine. Okay, this server is executed in this local machine. What we want to do is now to publish it and to appear in our remote machine, in our remote server. So the procedure we had to do, and with the data we have here, is just select the database we want from our server, and in tasks, under tasks, well, right click, and under tasks menu we have to this deploy database to Microsoft Azure SQL Database. Yes, and here is a wizard to tell us what. All right, server connection. Good. We have to establish a server connection again with what? We need our server name. Yes, well, our server name, which must be here. We already know. Our server name, we have to say that SQL Server Authentication. It already remembers the user and password for the server, so I connect this. All right, and all right, it's saying I'm going to create a new database. All right, so what will be the name of the database you want me to create in Azure? Okay, because it doesn't exist here. Okay, it exists in the local machine, but not in the remote server, in an online server. So we're gonna keep the name. Okay, and important, Azure SQL Database Settings. Okay, we're gonna select this is the basic 2 GB and basic tier and basic edition of SQL Server. Okay, because this is gonna be the same as the server, because for that is what we are gonna be paying. We are paying for the server, by the way. Okay, not for the database, but but not for the type of the database. I can have many databases in this server that I will only be charged for 0.21 euros per month. But if I selected a different plan, okay, a new server will be created and new charges will apply. All right, so the little backpack, that's like this. All right, and I say next. It's like a summary of everything that it's gonna be doing, and I say finish, and it is extracting the schema and publishing it. All right, exporting data, creating the scripts. Yep. Still working in the scripts. Now it's updating the database and importing the package schema into the database. And once it's finished, okay, we can check that everything is success, and we can close this window. And you see now, without even the need of refreshing the remote server, the new database, okay, the exported database is being showing in the remote server, okay, with the different tables. So this is a copy in remote of the database, of this database we have in local. Yeah. Remember, every time you make a change in local, all right, you should refresh these changes, okay, upload again these changes to the remote database for them to be synchronized. Okay, let's check in Azure. If I go here, a new service has must have been created. Let's go to our resources and database, SQL database. Yes, this one. Okay, the person games wasn't before, and now it's working. I can log in with the query editor here and dash. Okay. So I have my tables, all right, and I have these 3 tables. Run the query, person game, okay, that didn't exist. So I already have published my local database that I have created and initialized with the first data of the project and main text in the development process in local to work quicker, and now I have deployed it, okay, to a online server in Azure. So now every application, independently where they are located, in a mobile phone or Windows machine, in another Windows machine, can access the database. Hope everything is all right. That's all for now, for you to continue working with this. Hope you understood everything. If not, just leave a comment, even in the YouTube channel, in the video, or in the forum of the classroom. And remember to like the video if you liked it, or unlike it if you unlike it. And of course, subscribe to the channel.